Hi and welcome back to Writer's Block. I'm Lee and today I'm going to do a book haul and an Owlcrate unboxing at the end as well. So these are just a few of the books that I've acquired over the past couple of months. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 books, and then also the Owlcrate unbox, so 10 books altogether. So the first book I have is Susanna Clarke's newest book, Piranesi. This one is actually her only other book other than Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. So it was highly anticipated when it was published earlier this year, I think it was. September last year. So this book's pretty strange apparently, which is probably normal for her seeing as the other book she did, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, was also pretty strange. So Goodreads describes it as Piranesi lives in a house, perhaps he always has. In his notebooks day after day he makes a clear and careful record of its wonders. The labyrinth of halls, the thousands upon thousands of statues, the tides that thunder up staircases, the clouds that move in slow procession through the upper halls. On Tuesdays and Fridays, Piranesi sees his friend, the other. At other times he brings tributes of food and water lilies to the dead, but mostly he's alone. Messages begin to appear scratched out in the chalk on the pavements. There is someone new in the house, but who are they and what do they want? Are they a friend or do they bring destruction and madness as the other claims? So this has an average rating of 4.31 on Goodreads, which is pretty darn high. And just having a quick look at the Goodreads reviews, most of them are 5 stars. I can't find a single one that's below 3. Oh wait, no, I found a 1 star. DNF'd at 25%. So apparently it's just very hard to understand, which is normal for weird books, frankly. But I like weird books, so I'll probably enjoy it. The next book I have is a graphic novel called Sheets by Brenna Thumler. This is quite a thick and long graphic novel. Most graphic novels are around 150 pages. This is nearly 300 pages in one volume, so it's pretty substantial. The color palette is like a pastel-y softness with a very basic line art. It's quite a comforting art style, and it's also like one of those weird boardback books, not like a hardback or paperback. Marjorie Glatt feels like a ghost. A practical 13-year-old in charge of the family laundry business, her daily routine features unforgiving customers, unbearable PE classes, and the facetious Mr. Sobertuck, I'm assuming that's a teacher, who is committed to destroying everything she's worked for. Wendell is a ghost, a boy who lost his life much too young. His daily routine features an ineffective death therapy, a sheet-dependent identity, and a dangerous need to seek purpose in the forbidden human world. When their worlds collide, Marjorie is comforted by the unexplainable disasters as Wendell transforms Glatt's laundry into his midnight playground, appearing as a mere sheet during the day, while Glendale attempts to create a new afterlife for himself. He unknowingly sabotages the life that Marjorie is struggling to maintain. So this has an average rating of 3.8, which is kind of like average, middle of the road. It seems like it's going to be a very heartwarming story of friendship. And just looking at the pictures, a lot of the images of Marjorie, she's very sad. So I'm thinking it's going to be a lot of struggle, maybe some mental illness talk in here. I am excited for it. There is apparently another book in this series. Yeah, there is another book that called Delicate that came out just a week ago actually. So if I like this one, I'll hopefully get that one as well. The next book I bought is Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I do own the first book and the second book, though they're different editions from each other, because I tried to get the one, when I bought the second one, I tried to get the one that has the illustration on the naked hardcover, and when I bought the second one, it said it did have that, but when it arrived, it didn't. It's just plain. Well, there's a W on it, but there's no illustration. The illustration instead is on the end pages, which is a little annoying because I paid extra for this. It's also not got the final cover. It's got the proof copy of the cover, but it's not a proof copy. So when this one came out, I very much was like, I want to get the one that has the painting underneath, because as far as I was aware at the time, I thought this was just a trilogy. So it was like, gotta have at least one of them that are like that. Turns out they're not a trilogy. There's going to be 9 books in this series. So I did a little bit of research and I found out that Waterstones in the UK are the ones that are selling the one with the illustration on the back, so I had to order it from the UK. And it's also, luckily, even a signed copy with sprayed edges as well. So yeah, it's signed by Jessica Townsend. It says Burn Brightly on there as well. And then for the lovely illustration, this is what the naked hardcover looks like. It's got foiled glitter on like the ladders and the windowsills and everything. It's really, really stunning. Hopefully one day I'll be able to get the whole set with this illustration on it, because they are like lovely on each one. There's a different illustration on each one and they're just wonderful. So this book, I didn't even tell you what it's about. So yeah, this is the third book in the series, so obviously if I tell you exactly what it's about, that's going to be a spoiler. So the first book in the Nevermore series, which is called Nevermore, follows Morrigan Crow, who is a cursed child. She was born on the worst day of the year, and everyone who's born on this day is expected to be cursed, and they are blamed for everything bad that happens in the world, pretty much. They also all die on their 11th birthday. So it comes to her 11th birthday a little bit sooner than expecting, because their birthdays are based on the way the moon looks, kind of thing. And like there's this one particular season where the moon goes like dark red and bloody, and that's the curse today when people are born, and if they're born during that time, that's when they're cursed. So that occurred a little bit sooner than they were expecting to, and so she's like, oh shit, I'm gonna die now. But then, instead of dying, gets whisked away to this magical world called Nevermore by Jupiter North, because he thinks she's special and has magic powers, and he wants her to join the Wondrous Society. So it goes on a journey of her trying to get into this Wondrous Society and learning the truth about herself and learning about the truth about what being cursed actually was. The next book I have is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, who is a New Zealand author actually, and this is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in 1926 Shanghai. A blood feud between two gangs runs the streets red, leaving the city helpless in the grip of chaos. At the heart of all of it is 18-year-old Juliette Kai, a former flapper who has returned to assume her role as the prouder heir of the Scarlet Gang, a network of criminals far above the law. Their only rival in power is the White Flowers, who have fought the Scarlets for generations. Behind every move is their heir Roma Montagov, Juliet's first love and first betrayal. But when the gangsters on both sides show signs of instability, accumulating and clawing at their own throats out, people start to whisper of the contagion and madness of a monster in the shadows. As deaths stack up, Juliet and Roma set their guns and grudges aside and have to work together. If they can't stop this mayhem, there'll be no city left for either of them to rule. The next book I have was actually an Owlcrate book that I had filmed the unboxing, but my hard drive and computer both crashed, so I lost all the footage of, and that is Law by Alexander Bracken. This is, so yeah, as I said, this is the Owlcrate edition. I actually prefer the original cover, which is just plain white. I think it suits it a lot better. And as with all Owlcrate books, it is signed by the author as well. So this book is about Greek mythology set in like the modern world. Every 7 years the Aegon begins. As punishment for past rebellions, 9 Greek gods are forced to work Earth as mortals, hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodline, all eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. Long ago, Law fled that brutal world in the wake of her family's sadistic murder, and by a rival line turning her back on the hunt's promises for eternal glory. For years she's pushed away any thought of vengeance against the man, now a god, possible for their deaths. Yet as the next hunt dawns on New York City, 2 participants seek out her help. Castor, a childhood friend of Law, believed long dead, and gravely wounded Athena, among the last of the original gods. The goddess offers an alliance against mutual enemy, and at last a way for Law to leave Aegon behind forever. But Law's decision to bind her fate with Athena's and rejoin the hunt will come at the deadly cost, and still might not be enough to stop the rise of a new god with a power that will bring humanity to its knees. I don't know like pretty much anything about Greek gods. I never was taught it in school. I never read the Percy Jackson series, but I do really like mythology in general, so I'm probably going to enjoy this. The average rating is 3.9, which, as I said, is only like average. People don't seem to be thinking it's that great, but hopefully I will like it still. The next book is a book I have actually already read. I read the arc of it on NetGalley, and I saw it in the store in Whitcoulls, and I was very surprised to see it in the store. New Zealand bookstores rarely ever sell any books that aren't from the big 4 publishers, and even then, very few of them. They're pretty much only the New York bestsellers top 10 list, and that's it. So I was very surprised to see that they had Witch by Finbar Hawkins. I loved this book. I gave it 4.5 stars, I think it was. So this is set in 1700 in England, I think it is, in which a girl who is around 16, 17 years old, she witnesses her mother be brutally murdered by witch hunters for being accused for being a witch. And so her and her younger sister go on the run because they now are also hunted, believed to also be witches. Her little sister is a witch. That's confirmed from the beginning. The older sister, the one who is a protagonist, isn't, and she doesn't like magic at all. She blames it for her mother's death, and she's always resented it. But despite that, she seeks vengeance on the men that have killed her mother, and so she goes on a quest to hunt down each of the 5 men who were responsible for her death. And along the way, she learns a lot about her own family history and a lot about magic itself. The synopsis that's on the paperback at the back actually kind of gives away the ending of the book, so if you do have a paperback version, or even if the hardback has this, I wouldn't read that if you haven't read the book yet, because it spoils everything. So it only has an average rating of a 3.6, but it also has only got 140 reviews on Goodreads. So to take that with a bit of pinch of salt, seeing as not many people have actually reviewed it. The next book is A Game Changer by Neil Shusterman. I bought this on a complete whim. It wasn't on my TBR. I was just at the bookshop and I'm like, I want to buy a book. And there wasn't really anything there that I either wanted or didn't already have. So I was like, I know Neil Shusterman. I have a couple of his other books on my TBR, so I'll get this one. And it's his latest book as well. It was published this year in February. And it's a sci-fi coming-of-age contemporary book, is what Goodreads claims it is. So it's about a teenage football player who is forced into a series of parallel lives as a star player of his high school American football team, as she's used to taking hard hits. But that one run in his last game must have knocked him a little loose, because suddenly his life doesn't quite look the way he remembers it. Ash bounces between worlds that are almost but not really his own, and he starts to question everything, including his own perceptions and his place in reality. I like parallel universes. They're always fun to read, seeing what they always come up with of what they think other worlds would look like if there was just slight changes in history. So I think I'll like it on that basis, but at the same time, if it's too heavy on the football, I probably won't. It has an average rating of a 3.7, so again, that's kind of middle ground. Most of the ratings that are coming up are about 3 stars, so not too great, but hopefully it's good. Obviously, why would I buy a book hoping it's shit? The next book is Predator's Gold by Philip Reeves. I watched the movie of The Mortal Engines, and I thought it was okay, basically, but I ended up having so many questions that weren't answered in the movie. As far as I was aware, they're not going to make another movie, so I can't just watch that movie. So I was like, I'm going to listen to the audiobook and figure out, because I was like, this world doesn't particularly make any sense. So I did that, and the book was so much better. It answered all my questions, so I actually quite liked it. And I was like, the books are quite cheap. I'll buy the second one. So these books are set in a post-apocalyptic world in which the cities have become mobile and have to kind of destroy other cities to survive. And they're called traction cities. And it says, the great traction city, London, has been sulking in the hills to avoid bigger, faster, hungrier cities loose in the great hunting ground. But now the sinister plans of Lord Mayor Magnus Crome can finally unfold. Thaddeus Valentine, London's head historian and adored famous archaeologist, and his lovely daughter Catherine are down in the gut when a young assassin in a black scar strikes towards his heart. Saved by a quick intervention by Tom, a lowly third-class apprentice. Racing after the fleeing girl, Tom suddenly glimpses her hideous face, scarred from forehead to jaw, nose a smashed stump, and a single eye glaring back at Tom. Look at what your Valentine did to me, she screams. Ask him what he did to Hester Shaw. And with that, she jumps down the waste chute to her death. Minutes later, Tom finds himself tumbling down the same chute and stranded in the outcountry in a sea of mud scored by huge caterpillar tracks of cities like the one now streaming off to the horizon. So this is, if you're not already aware, a revenge story of Hester Shaw seeking vengeance of Thaddeus Valentine, who killed her parents. And the last book for this section is The Humans by Matt Haig. So this is a bit contemporary, a little bit sci-fi, but more on the contemporary light-hearted side. So in this book we have this scientist who has discovered this equation that will help society move forward drastically. And aliens find out that we've done this and are very angry. They don't think humans are ready for this. So they send one of their own to Earth to kill this scientist and to erase any evidence of his work, replace him in his life and become him. And as he's doing this alien obviously has to learn about humanity, learn how to function in human society, and learn what humans are really like. So you can kind of get an idea of how it's going to be lighthearted and warm. Though the back of the book and the synopsis kind of makes it feel like the alien doesn't realise he's an alien. Because it says, after an incident one wet Friday night where he is found walking naked through the streets of Cambridge, Professor Andrew Martin is not feeling quite himself. Food sicken him, clothes confuse him, even his loving wife and teenage son repulse him. He feels lost amongst an alien species and hates everyone on the planet. Everyone there is except Newton, and he's a dog. This is a very well-loved book. It has a rating of 4.1 on Goodreads. I've never heard anyone ever say anything bad about this book, so I'm expecting to love it. So I'm going to do the Owlcrate unboxing now. This is the March box. So the theme is of witches and wonder. This is a spoiler card. The first thing I see is a little fabric item, and it says bookmark holder, magic is desire made real. And it's kind of like material they use for book sleeves. It's really nice and really soft. You could also probably use this to hold your glasses. Not sure what this is based off of. It's based off of a discovery of witches. Next is this little box, which I'm going to think is some kind of glassware. That's normally drinkware. Reading through the seasons. To celebrate the unique beauty found in each of the 4 seasons, we've created a special limited edition drinkware designed by the artist Macarena Chomik. A tribute to springtime and lovely blooms in this stunning tumbler features a quote from Sylvia Plath. It is not springtime in New Zealand, it is summer, autumn. Cheers for spring, for life, for a growing soul. This makes me think, because it has a little, makes me think that it's for, like, taking around transporting, but seeing as there's nothing to hold, there's a hole in it, and there's something covering the hole, like it's just going to spill everywhere. But it is very nice. Next is this little box. That is a lot of tissue paper for this little thing. Handmade perfume oil. Emmanuel. Blackberry sage and cypress. That smells real nice. Not sure who Emmanuel is. Let's see. This is based off of the Year of the Witching. Then I got another little box. There's a little witch in all of us. Add a bit of magic to your morning brew with this tea bag breast. Keep your tea bag or the tea ball or spoon tidy while you get your nose stuck in a book. Oh, that's nice. There's a little witch in all of us here. That's really nice. Let's see who this is made. It is inspired by practical magic. Next is like a little bookmark from Owlcrate saying, like, Own Voices books, winner of a literary award, last book in the series, graphic novel, read. What is this? So it's like a reading challenge for each of the letters of Owlcrate, and then you fill out which books you did to complete the prompts, but I'm not sure, like, is this, like, gonna be something they do online as well, and, like, have, like, maybe a prize or anything? Next, I see the pin for this month. It's a little plain. It has a little bit of glitter in it though. So this will be based off of the book that's in this month's box. So it says magic has consequences. It's just a little purple cauldron that's matte, and then the like smoke coming out of the cauldron is glittery. It's a little plain for my taste, but it's nice. Oh, this is very nice. There is a big hardback sketchbook with like a drawing of a witch. You could pretend that's mine if you wanted, I guess. And the paper's pretty decently thick. That's probably about like a 200 GSM, so you could do like watercolors and paintings on this. That's really decently made. I'm definitely using this obviously because I draw and paint a lot. This is definitely my favourite item. It's also a very nice sketch. The Magician. I'm assuming it's probably based on The Magicians. Oh, so it's not actually based on a book. It's based on the Magician card that comes in tarot card sets. And finally, it is the book. So the first thing we have is the spoiler card for next month, which is Ruthless Royals, which is a theme they have done before. It says every box will include a coffee from Fable Grounds Coffee. Then we've got the little Owlcrate book. So this book this month is Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adriana Tooley. The cover, apparently they have changed it to be a purple night sky instead of like a dawn sky. But the images that's shown in here, it doesn't really look that different at all. Though it does have purple sprayed edges. And of course it has the author letter, which also at the back has what the original cover looked like, so it's not that much different really. It is signed by the author as well. And then on the naked hardcover it's got a little foiled bow as well. Ooh, that's a nice map. It's got a really nice map inside it. I have no idea what this book is about, so let's find out. The salt was due on Tamsin's tongue, the mild spice that meant something to her once, had made a difference when sprinkled with the deft hand of her boil. Oh my god, I can't fucking read. The mild spice had meant something to her once, had made a difference when sprinkled with a deft hand on her boiled eggs or smoked fish. Now it tasted like everything else, and in that it tasted like despair, a whisper of faraway fire, like the rest of her stale, wasted life. But of course it is a mercy that she even still has a life to waste. Though it rarely felt like a mercy, but that was probably because the coven had made it so she could not feel at all. What? Tamsin is the most powerful witch of her generation, but after committing the worst magical sin, she is exiled by the ruling coven and cursed with the inability to love. The only way she can get those feelings back, even for just a little while, is to steal love from others. Okay, so this is gonna be romance, which I ain't keen on. Yeah, so that is all the books for this haul. If you want to check out our Instagram, Twitter, our website, Discord, or Reddit, that will be down in the description, along with a Books Depository affiliate link that we will get 5% commission on every purchase you make from that link. We will be posting videos every Friday with bonus content on Wednesdays, and so we will see you next week on Friday with a video from Chris.